Legends are mostly born by great deeds and actions, but this doesn't mean that the person or the deed has to be real. Sometimes they are born by another man's imagination. No doubt all fictional characters have their own fan base, but there are few of them which have become so popular and admired by people from all around the world to the point that many of us perceive them as real historical or present-day figures. In this video we'll take a look at 3 of the most famous non-existent persons to which people are still sending letters to this very day. Of course, the number 1 on this list is the most famous of all, Santa Claus. The tradition of writing Santa letters is more than 150 years old and it originates from America. Earlier Santa letters were more didactic and coming from Saint Nicholas rather than written to him. In them he used to highlight the children's bad deeds throughout the year and that they should listen to their parents. Theodore Cuyler, a famous American Presbyterian minister and religious writer, recalled receiving an autographed letter from Santa Claus full of good counsels during his childhood in 1920s Western New York. The whole postal system became more efficient in the mid-1860s, partly in response to the explosion of mail during the Civil War, and the cost of postage began dropping significantly. Poems and pictures in the newspapers helped spread the idea of sending Santa mail, especially Thomas Nast's 1871 illustration for the cover of the Harper's Weekly magazine depicting Santa Claus separating letters into 2 stacks, those from naughty children's parents and from good children's parents. Nast is also credited with popularizing the idea that Santa lived and worked in the North Pole, for example, with an 1866 illustration that named Santa Clausville, North Pole as his address, giving kids a destination to send Santa's mail. Soon, newspapers across the country were reporting the arrival of Santa letters to local postal departments, and then to their own offices. Recognizing the emotional power of the letters, many papers published the children's scrolls and even offered prizes for the best letters. But as the letters piled up, so did tensions about who should answer them. While some newspapers published letters sent to them and invited readers to respond, most missives sent to the post office ended up in the dead letter office, where they were destroyed along with other mail sent to unreachable addresses. By the turn of the 20th century, the public and press began complaining that children's wishes were treated with such neglect. In 1913, the Postal Office Department allowed local charity groups to answer the letters. There were organizations started by volunteers to answer the letters and to deliver gifts to the children. In 1976, in Indiana, local volunteers founded Santa Sales Incorporated, an organization which was separated from the post office, and in 2006 Santa Claus Museum and Village opened and merged with the elves. These and other organizations around the world now receive thousands of letters every year addressed to Santa Claus, and they answer to all of them. And of course there are donations and volunteers who are willing to buy presents for some less fortunate children. Number 2 on our list is Juliet, from Shakespeare's tragedy Romeo and Juliet. There is a place in Verona where thousands of letters addressed to Shakespeare's heroine are kept, answered and filed. The 14th century palace, known as Juliet's house, was once the home of the Capello family, who may or may not have been the model for the Capulets of Shakespeare's play. The people who sent letters to Juliet usually ask for advice concerning their love life, or they simply want to share their stories with someone. The so-called Juliet Club replies to all the letters every year since the 1980s. This is a team of volunteers which read and answer to every letter in the name of Juliet. If you are in Verona, you can just visit Juliet's house and simply leave your letter there in a little red mailbox in the walls near the famous balcony. Inside the house there is a computer room where you can write your letter to Juliet, which is then sent directly to the club's mailbox. There is also a box called the Purgatory, in which the girls from the club put the letters which don't have the sender's address written on them. This phenomenon has made Verona the worldwide known capital of love. The city earns a fortune from the legend of Romeo and Juliet despite the fact that there is little evidence that the couple ever existed. Number 3 on the list is Sherlock Holmes. When in the late 19th century Sir Arthur Conan Doyle began writing his short stories for the Strand magazine, about the world's most famous detective Sherlock Holmes and his friend Dr. John Watson, he had no idea that he was creating an immortal character which will attract an enormous fan base throughout the years. And that's why he never expected that people would actually send letters to an address he made up, but which became real in the 1930s. During that period, the street numbers in London got changed and a newly constructed building for the Abbey National Bank, known today as Santander, got Sherlock Holmes' address 221B Baker Street. Rather than simply throw away a mail address to a fictional character, The bank decided to hire someone to answer Holmes' mail as his secretary. The bank continuously employed a series of secretaries to respond to fans, letting them know that Holmes had retired to the countryside to raise bees, or even replying occasionally as Holmes himself, using quotes from those books. But in 1919, the Sherlock Holmes Museum was opened between 237 and 241 Baker Street. They argued that they should be receiving and answering the letters people are sending to Holmes. The authorities decided that Abbey National Bank technically owned the address, and it is no one's fault that people are sending their letters there. In 2002, the bank moved its headquarters, and Westminster Council gave the Sherlock Holmes Museum exclusive rights to use the address 221B Baker Street. The museum is still there today, and people from all around the world continue to write letters to Sherlock Holmes. Many of them maybe still haven't realized that he actually never existed. But one thing is sure, he is never going to die. So this is where the video ends, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like button or leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, take care.